1 year ago, I was living on this island called Koh Samui, which is situated in Thailand, and I asked myself this crazy question: what if I could run around this island? Now, prior to asking myself that question, I had never ran a marathon ever in my entire life, nor had I ever had any experience leading up to a long distance feat. Everyone around me told me it was a stupid idea. I don't know if you've ever been to Thailand, but it's 30 degrees every single day, it's very humid, and the roads are very, very chaotic. But I thought, why not? Why not give myself a challenge? So 1 week I told myself, this Saturday I'm going to wake up and I'm just going to start running and I'm going to run around this island. I went on Google Maps and I found out that it was going to be around 50 to 60 kilometers, and it actually classified as an ultra marathon, not even a marathon. So fast forward a few days and I woke up Saturday morning at around 7 a.m, put on my fanny pack, put on my sunglasses, put in my wallet, put in my phone, and there I was, ready to set sail. I remember the first 15 kilometers weren't too bad. The sun had just come up. There was only a few awkward roads and a few hills, but nothing terrible. I had some food before the run, so I was feeling energized. I had water in my system. It was only until later on I realized how underprepared I actually was for this run. So I stopped at this resort in Lamai, and I remember taking in the view, sitting down for a moment. I remember I looked at my phone and it said that my phone had been locked, and that was strange because I hadn't touched it in ages. So I kept running, but my pace just kept going slower and slower and the pain started becoming unbearable. I had to keep stopping at these 7-Elevens because there was no sodium in my system. I thought I had to get something salty in order to keep me going, so I would find these seaweed packets in 7-Eleven, and I'd literally be eating seaweed outside of 7-Eleven to just keep me going, and that seemed to have fixed the cramps. At this point in time, my phone was completely disabled, so the sweat kept getting into my phone and locking me out. So yeah, my phone was completely disabled. I remember even coming across this couple and I asked them for directions to Chongmon, which is where I was staying at the time, and they told me directions what to get a car there, and I was like, no, I'm running, and they were just like, what the hell's wrong with this guy? But anyways, I kept running north and I eventually got to the northeast part of the island, and I found I went up this giant road, this giant hill, and there was this little shack situated on this corner with this beautiful view, and this little shack was somewhere where you could order food. It was a restaurant, and I remember walking into the shack and the owner looking at me like, what is wrong with this guy? I had all this sweat dripping everywhere, all this white crustaceans forming on me, looked like this alien, and I was barely hobbling, I was barely walking, and I kind of stumbled in to this restaurant and I sat down, and he came over and I ordered a chicken and rice and a watermelon shake, and I remember sitting down and my knees were just literally grinding against one another. It was absolutely unbearable. But anyway, this very friendly chef, the owner of the restaurant, he came and sat down with me. Anyways, this man, I asked him, how far, because my phone was disabled, I had no idea where I was. I'd never been to this part of the island. And I asked him, how far away am I from Chongmon, which is where I was staying? And he said 25 kilometers. And I asked myself, how on earth am I going to do this? How on earth am I going to go? Practically another half marathon. It was 4 p.m, it was going to get dark in 2 hours. I had no contact with anyone, and people were starting to, at the time, I only found out later, people were actually starting to worry about where I was. At that time, I had been running for nearly 8 hours. In fact, this reminds me of a book called A Hero with 1,000 Faces by Joseph Campbell. And what it is he did was he analysed thousands of mythological stories that have ever been created ever since humans came about. And he found this underlying pattern across all of them, which is something called the hero's journey. Now, maybe in another video I can talk more about what the hero's journey is, but basically there's this point in the hero's journey where the hero faces the biggest ordeal. And in this exact moment when I was completely broken, completely shattered, had to run another half marathon, is exactly how I felt. And maybe there's something that you're going through right now where you feel the exact same. Maybe there's something that you're not living up to, or something you're not facing that you know you should be, and it feels crushing or crumbling, and you're just sitting there and you don't know what to do with yourself. However, I stood up, and even though it was so painful in my knees, I just told myself all it is literally just one foot in front of the other, and I started running again. Luckily it was downhill, so I had a bit of leverage behind me. I had a bit of support behind me to get me off the ground. Anyways, fast forward 20 kilometers and many, many internal battles. The sun had set and I stopped out this 7-Eleven. My friend who was going around on a motorcycle found me at this 7-Eleven. In fact, he even filmed a video which is on my Instagram, and he caught me eating these seaweed, and he was like, what the hell's happened? Like, are you okay? Because my phone had been locked out and everything, so no one knew where I was. Some people thought I was, like dead or something. Anyways, he told me that I had 5 kilometers left. And I remember those last 5 kilometers, I was running in pitch black along the road, completely ruined, like literally couldn't even feel my feet or my legs or anything. And then 5 kilometers later, I crossed the invisible finish line, the finish line that I had set for myself, and I ended up coming back to the house where I was staying. So at the start of the day, I'd ran around one way and I'd come back the other. And there was no one there apart from my friend, and he congratulated me, and then that was it. It was just me and my friend, and that was the mission complete. And the reason why I share this story is because maybe there's something that you're thinking of doing right now. Maybe it's something audacious, something crazy. Maybe it's something that you're not quite sure you can do, something that you've never seen anyone else do, and you're right on the fence wondering whether or not you should try. And I tell you this story to just maybe illustrate that really you can do anything you ever put your mind to. Whether it is running a stupid distance, or it's trying this new sport, or it's trying this business, or it's trying to become someone new, or trying this new habit, or trying this new routine, whatever it is, I encourage you to take on that call to adventure. You have no idea how much it could impact your life. This was one nugget of wisdom, one story that I will be able to carry on for the rest of my life and share with many others to help them try and challenge themselves in new and better ways. The main thing I learned from this is there is no tomorrow. You're never going to be ready. That you're never going to have a moment where you're like, yeah, now's the time to do this thing. Another big lesson that I learned is all the pain and all the suffering and all the mental torture that I went through when running on this run. It was all made up. It was all in my head. And the funny thing is after I finished this run, it all went away. It all dissipated. It meant nothing, you know? All that was left was the internal glory from achieving this thing that I set out to achieve. Another big thing I learned is no one's coming to save you. There was many points across the journey, across the run, where I was cramped up. I was eating seaweed by myself. I couldn't stand up properly. My phone was locked. I couldn't access anyone. And no one cared. And no one was coming to save me. No one was just going to pick me up on the side of the road. No one was just going to carry my legs for me. No, I had to finish it myself. And that is the brutal reality sometimes. You may be going through a very tough situation right now, or there's a very, very big obstacle in front of you, but no one's going to carry you through that obstacle. No one is. It's only up to you whether or not you're going to walk through it. Ryan Holiday has this great book called The Obstacle is the Way, and he illustrates how the obstacle, the thing you don't want to do, is the very thing you have to do. It's the only way forward. And the longer you leave it, the more it's going to sit around in your subconscious mind, the more it's going to be on your mind, no matter how big of a challenge it is. It could be going to the moon, whatever it is. If you don't do it, it's going to eat away at you, which is why I really, really encourage you to just do it. Even if it doesn't work out how you wanted it to work out, at least you tried. At least you can look back and say that you tried, you gave it your very best, you know? And also, whatever that thing is that's on your mind, that's in front of you, there may be people saying that it's stupid, that it's crazy, that it's not going to work, but you got to just drown all that out and do it anyway, because at the end of the day, you've only got one life. You came into this world by yourself, you're going to leave by yourself, and all that's in between that is your time and what you do with it, and that's completely up to you. And if you're going to let someone else control how you're going to live and spend that time, then that's a failure. You know, you can't do that. You can't let other people's opinions get in the way of exactly what it is that you're trying to do. What you'll find as well is a lot of people, they're just trying to protect you because of the things that could come with the challenge that you're pursuing, you know, whatever it is. For example, in this run, people thought that I was stupid because I might end up, you know, getting stranded and dying on the side of the road, which, to be honest, it did come close at some points. It did come close. But if anything, if more people are saying you shouldn't do something, then you should do it. Because if anything, it's more of a reason to do the actual thing itself. But anyways, I've been talking about this run for a long enough time now, and I don't want to waste any more of your time. But my name is Jay. If you don't know me, I go by the name J.AI on my channel. And the idea is every single video that I post is going to go into an AI version of myself that I'm putting on a platform that I'm creating myself called Enigma. And originally I was going to start with just AI and just be like everyone else, posting all these videos on top AI models to use and all these other things, but I have all these stories and I feel like I have to share them. And if anyone's ever going to talk to J.AI, I think it's only fair if I let people know who exactly I am. And just for context, these videos, these are the things that I hate to do. I hate making these videos. I know there's going to be someone who's going to drop a comment, who's going to say all sorts of things, and it's only going to get louder and louder the more this channel grows. But you've got to do it anyway. You know, there's no other way for me to make my vision Enigma work unless I put myself on the platform itself, unless people talk to J.AI. And maybe no one will, but I'll never know unless I find out. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned if you want to keep following along with the journey and tuning into what it is I have to say.